How's it going? Thank you so much for joining today. I appreciate it. This is Matt Javit, half of the traveling duo, Matt and Nikki Javit for Passport Joy Travel Talk, where we hope to continue to provide value to you for your traveling needs as you look for vacations, long-term travel, or even like week-long getaways and whatnot. So today I'm going to talk about back pain in travel. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Real quick, just a way, people always ask how they can support us. Many ways, passportjoy.com. Check out the website. We provide a ton of information there. There's a lot of ways you can click through and help us out with different products and companies that we use. That's a great way. If you just go to the partners page, that's a way that you can help out. And then obviously reviews. If you can give us reviews either for the podcast here on whatever the app that is for you, or if you want to do something like World Barbershop Adventures it's now on Amazon Prime. That's where I'm getting haircuts and beard trims around the world. If you want to go on Amazon Prime, leave us a review there. Just pause this real quick. Jump over to your Amazon app, look up World Barbershop Adventures. I'm the one that pops up there, and just leave a quick review. That's a great way to help us as well. But that's it. So I'm going to plug right now. Just the idea is for us to just continue to give back here. We have a huge passion for travel, everything that's involved in travel, and sometimes it's not great, like this. So just to jump right into it around back pain and the things that sometimes sucks about whether it's you're getting into thinking about travel and you're thinking about jumping on a plane, or you're have a long bus trip in front of you, or a train, or things like that, and you're worried about your back and the problems that you might have on a regular basis. So just to give shed some light on my situation, I am someone that struggled with back pain for most of my adult life. Played college basketball, and in the process of playing college hoops, I injured my back several times during those days. And then in my early and mid 20s, I struggled on and off with back pain. And then in my 30s, I tried everything possible to cure it. I had constant numbness and stiffness in my hips and my lower back, and even to the point where I couldn't put on shoes anymore. I had to put on basically just slip-on sandals to get around. I did chiropractors, cupping, needles, inversion tables, stem treatment. I did all kinds of weird stretching devices. And then I got on more medication, and I got on too much medication. So I was trying everything, and in the process, what ended up happening was the diagnosis was I had degenerative disc disease. So I had 3 discs, the L3, 4, and 5, that were essentially on top of each other. These are typically like the shock absorbers in between your spine, and they just kept shrinking over time, and then they were basically bone on bone, and that's what made it horrible to live with even on a daily basis, and then to travel was unbearable. So 6 years ago, this next month, I went under the knife. So prior to that, like I said, I tried everything, and I was trying to avoid the knife at all costs. But I took a trip to Mumbai, India, and before that trip, I got a epidural steroid shot in my back, which is essentially supposed to be minimally invasive, and it's supposed to really help numb that pain in your back and make it so all the inflamed spinal nerves go away. Well, it didn't help for me. So I took the 14-hour flight to Mumbai, India, had my trip, and then within 2 weeks, I was down again, and it was very, very painful. So I decided to go under the knife and get the surgery. And that surgery was a big deal. I was in the hospital for 6 days. They gave me 3 cadaver discs, L3, 4, and 5. And so I've got in my back, and I'll put a photo on the show notes, but essentially I've got 2 rods, tons of pins, these 2 plates, all of it kind of holding everything together in my lower back. They went in through the front. I've got a 10-inch incision in my front. So essentially they went in through my stomach, pulled everything out of my body, put all the stuff in there in my back, and then sewed me up, and then it flipped me over on the bed, went in through the back as well. I got a 9-inch incision on my back, went in the back, and then opened me up that way, and then finished off the deal. I was 6 hours in the room, 6 days recovery in the hospital, and then about 2 weeks recovery at home, 6 of which where I had to stay at home, work from home. And it was pretty brutal, the whole process. But through it, again, like I said, 6 years ago, and as you guys know, I've traveled the world now, and we did every form of transportation possible out there. Through that process of the surgery, I started getting information from friends. So it was something that I wasn't really vocal that I was going through it at the time that I was injured, But then once people knew that I went under the knife and I wasn't as available around my job and stuff, people started sharing information with me. And one of the things they shared with me was a book called Foundation Training by Dr. Eric Goodman. And this, I tell everybody about this because it absolutely has changed my life. I'm not sure if I had these exercises before I went under the knife, if it would have been a different outcome, if I would have never had to get surgery. But regardless, the benefits it's had outside and beyond the surgery have been life-changing for me. And when it comes to back surgery, I realize there's a ton of factors. And I've learned these factors mostly in the last 5 or 6 years as I've had to cope with this in different ways. But there's many things that I know now about my body and how I react to certain things that have helped me overcome my issues with my back. I contributed much of it to foundation training and these exercises. And then with these exercises, I guess to talk about these exercises real quick, they're amazing. So this doctor out of California, he really focuses on the core, but it's not like your traditional core, because a lot of yoga core exercises are on your frontal core, and they're focused on your back and these tiny muscles that hold all of this together to make us have better posture, stand better, and have less pain. And I promise you, if you just like look on their YouTube page or you go on their Instagram photos and you read the comments of how people will talk about these exercises have changed my life. I can play with my kids, all the different things that come with people being persistent with these exercises. It is amazing how many lives they've touched. And when I started looking at this stuff 6 years ago, it was a small group of people out of California and some in the kind of like on the East Coast as well, but mostly was on the West Coast that were doing his foundation training, which is essentially a type of yoga, if you will. Now, if you look on the website, it's everywhere. It's exploding and it's globally moving because this stuff works. He's got professional athletes, actors, actresses, and people like that are doing it. And if it's something that if you stick with it, and it's not difficult. It's mostly just standing, doing different stretches and poses as you would like yoga, but they're different as he describes it. You focus on an area of your body that you not normally would do. So as if you looked at somebody do it, if you watched me do the exercises, and I'll put on the YouTube, I'll show a clip of my 12-minute routine that I do. But if you watch me do it, you would say, okay, that's not very hard. But while you're doing it, because you're focusing on certain muscles as you're doing it and as you're performing it, you're making sure that you use different muscles, especially around like your hamstrings and how you stretch. It is very difficult. And some of it's difficult to hold the balance. But as you get used to it and you do it more often and you see the benefits of it and the pain goes away, it becomes less difficult. I mean, it's always going to be hard because it's kind of like yoga. You can always go as hard as you want to go to push your body to the next limit because you can always stretch to a different level. And it's kind of like that where you can continue to push your body and get something out of it. It can get boring at times, but when you know the benefits of not having back pain and to wake up every morning without back pain, that's why I tell everybody about these exercises. Again, foundation training, I'll put it in the show notes. It's very important, and it's something that if you're taking a bunch of flights or if you're traveling, I do these things in airports. I've done them in lobbies. Current exercise that I do is about 12 minutes, and I do it every other day. And there's one exercise called the Founder that's about 2.5, 3 minutes, depending upon how long you hold the stretches, and you never touch the ground. It's all just standing. And if you do that in between like a flight, if you're laid over in Dallas and you're on a connection and you just do that Founder, I promise you it'll change how good you feel going to your next flight. So I do these often, and if you jump on their Instagram page and you see some of the stuff the founders, Dr. Eric Goodman, the things that he shows on his Instagram page, you'll understand what I'm talking about more fully. But these exercises have absolutely changed my life. And anytime if you're hearing this and you're like, Matt, because I've had people reach out to me on social media when they understand that they see everything that's in my back and they understand that I was a traveler and I do travel often, and they just wish they can get there. I've had people send me personal notes before and say, hey, can you share in more detail what you're doing or lead me to certain places? I'll put a bunch of stuff in the show notes, but if you want to send me a note as well, Matt@passportjoy.com, I'll answer those, because I'm a huge advocate of helping people through back pain, because I know how debilitating it can be and how brutal it is to wake up and have numb feet, or just have your sciatic nerve going down your leg and you just can't function properly. And we're getting this more and more in our society today, because a lot of it is we're sitting longer in our jobs, we're not moving around enough, or just a lot of financial pressures they've studied. You hold that stress in your back as well. So as people have financial struggles, they might hold that in their back. And we just need to overcome this. But a lot of times it's not just the physical. There's other things too, especially when you travel, that because you're excited and you're traveling and you might not think about staying as focused as you might be at home. When you're at home, you might have a great routine where you're doing things every day and you're getting proper sleep. You might be going to the gym at certain times and you have that routine. When you go on vacation, whether it's a weekend or a week-long vacation, all that sometimes gets thrown out the window and you just want to have a great time on your vacay and you stop going to the gym, you just want to lay at the pool or whatever. So my suggestion is, if you're someone like me where back pain is chronic, if I didn't focus on my back for 2 or 3 days, I would be in a very rough patch. If I wasn't conscious of doing some exercises, staying active, and doing these things that I'm going to tell you about. There's a few things that can really sideline you quick if you're somebody that has back pain or it pops up from time to time. Your nutrition and how you eat, that's one of my biggest factors. I know if I eat badly for a 2-day period or 3-day period, that I got to be aware of what could happen to my back. It's something that I know if I'm eating a lot of breads or a lot of wheats, things that can cause inflammation, the foods that typically cause inflammation, I know that if I'm doing that on a regular and I'm having a 3-day vacation where I'm just having fun, eating whatever I want to eat, or if I'm drinking a lot of beer, sometimes if I'm drinking a lot of beer, that causes inflammation for me as well. So understanding that with my body and saying that, okay, if I'm going to do one thing, then I got to do the other thing. So if I know that I'm eating bad, then I got to find time to do some exercises, because it's going to counterbalance a little bit. But at the same time, if I just let everything go bad, then I'm going to be in a really bad spot. So I'm always aware of what I'm putting into my body and how I'm treating my body. So nutrition, water, how much water are you drinking when you travel? You got to remind yourself to drink a ton of water if back pain is a thing, because that water really helps. Like I said before, the overeating of certain foods that cause inflammation, be aware of that. I'm not saying you don't have to do it because you're on vacation, you want to have a good time, but just be aware of it and understand that you might wake up in the morning stiff. And as you're thinking about it, sometimes you'll want to say, well, man, this bed was bad, or that all that walking we did yesterday caused this. But in the end, it might just be the food you're eating. And the fact that you're off your diet and you have all these inflamed, these foods that cause inflammation. So just be aware of that. How much beer are you drinking or alcohol that might cause inflammation as well. And then proper sleep. Sometimes that as we travel, if we're used to getting 7 or 8 hours and you get 5 to 6 because you're excited and you're on vacation, you go out a little bit later. So when you wake up because you want to go do things, how much sleep are you getting? Try to mix in a nap maybe. And then for those of you or us that might have jobs where you sit all the time and you're not exercising as much as you want to, maybe when you go on vacation now, you're moving a lot more than you normally would. Did you stretch before you move? If you know you're going out for a long walk, take a minute or two just to stretch your legs a little bit, get your back loose a little bit before you go on that long walk checking out a city. Because if your job is mostly sitting and then you think you could go on vacation and put in 5-6 mile walks around the city, and sometimes if you're going to Europe and the roads are cobblestone and it's not normal, your body's not just going to react that fast, especially if you're coming off a long flight and then you think that the next day or two you're going to be able to just jump into it. Just be aware of that. Be aware of how you're treating your body and don't think that it can react that quickly, especially the older that you get. And I found that something that has really helped me with, like, as I'm changing time zones or I'm getting off planes, The sooner I can get a workout in, the sooner I can get this foundation training and do a 12-minute to 15-minute session of foundation training, the quicker my body and my back is going to adjust. So if you can land in a city at, let's say, 3 p.m. and you know that next day or that night you want to go grab a nice dinner and start doing things, and you're going to be in that city for 3 or 4 days, try to get a workout in, even if it's for 30 minutes. I know you want to get your clothes out and you want to have fun and go right away, but if it's going to save you that time from being injured, I highly recommend getting a quick workout in as soon as you get to the room or wherever you're going. And that's the cool thing about these exercises. And I got to say real quick, I do not get paid by them. I've only tweeted to Dr. Eric Goodman. They've reposted my Instagrams before. There's probably somebody in that organization, if it's not him, that knows how much of a big a fan I am, because I talk about them constantly. But I get nothing in return for them except a healthy body. And that's why I talk about them constantly, because they've given me my life back. And the fact that I've had a chance to travel like I have because of these exercises, that's why I'm saying that. So don't think that I'm pushing these ideas because I'm getting something in return. That is 100% not the case. I'm an advocate because they've given me my life back in a situation where if you take the time to look at my photos, you understand what's inside my body. And this just happened 6 years ago. And then from the 6-year point to 3.5 years later, I got on that first flight to Santiago, Chile to travel the world full time. And prior to that, Nikki and I were traveling a bunch already. That's what gave us the bug. But my point is without these exercises, I am very doubtful that any of this would have been a possibility. Very doubtful, because I had tried everything else in my life prior to that, and I was a Division I athlete. So the exercises they gave me as a Division I athlete to heal my back and what I did with these are totally different. And it was like this huge gap in education that Dr. Eric Goodman has discovered in his book too. I'll put a link in the show notes for the book, or if even it'll be in this app. However you're downloading this app, you'll see it in the show notes for his original book. That's what changed my mind, because he talks about how we go about our daily lives, how we walk around, the fact that we slump when we're always looking at our phones, all these things that are contributing to us having bad posture and bad backs. I promise you what's crazy is, as I've come back almost to a person, everybody is saying, Matt, have you gotten taller? Have you gotten taller? And I swear it's because I'm always doing these exercises and elongating my spine, elongating my height, and my posture's on point. And I think that's what, when people say to me, like, dude, I swear you've gotten taller. I'm a legit 6'6", but the fact that I'm always doing these elongating exercises, I feel like that I'm always elongated to my max, and that's what people are saying. I guess in closing, I wanted to talk about this today because I know that a lot of people struggle with back pain, and I get it all. I have these conversations all the time where somebody will be struggling, and it's the worst. Health is wealth is 100% correct. Anybody that's gone through anything like this or even bigger, obviously, it's brutal to wake up in the mornings and not have your health, and that's why I'm such a huge advocate of being very proactive in my health and doing these exercises. And yeah, they suck a lot of the times, and they get boring, and especially when you're doing the same exercises for years and years and years in a row. But at the same time, if you only have to carve out that period of time during the day to get the other 23.5 or 23 hours of your life where you're not in pain, I promise you, I've lived the pain life that I'd take the boredom over the pain life any day of the week. And it's also one of those things where as you dig into this stuff and you get everything in order, you understand that food does cause inflammation. There's a few books that really changed my life. Eat to Live, and the idea that certain foods out there that we think that we love and that are good for us aren't that way, and they might cause bad inflammation for you and might cause you these heartaches. But as you get a hold on all these things and you hydrate yourself on a regular basis, you do these exercise and you do things the right way, you understand your body well, it's never too late. I've talked to people and I've seen people on some of these blogs and websites where they're in their 60s and 70s and they've had chronic back pain, or they've dealt with some sort of obesity their entire lives, and they get to the point where they just want to tackle it. You can do this at any point in your life, which is amazing. And you can get over, I'm a pure example of you can get over this pain anytime in your life, because I lived with it. I wish I really wish I had these exercises when I was in high school, just to understand what my athletic career would have been differently, because I struggled with back pain throughout my entire athletic time playing. And it's just to think back, like, man, what could have been, just to know these exercises would have been amazing, just to not to have to deal with that pressure. So I would just say, just commit to it, commit to the change, get a hold of it. Hopefully, if you've listened this far, that's probably because you have some sort of back pain. Check out these links, check out foundation training. We all have friends that are in back pain. Share this. I'm a shining example to show that anything is possible. You can break through this and have a life of health, and you can get through this and travel again if you haven't traveled in a while because you're afraid of how your back is. I'm an example of that. And you can absolutely feel good inside your body with these exercises and with a few other things if you just watch yourself and monitor it. All right. Sorry, that might have got long and winded in some places, but I know how I felt going through this, and it sucks. And if I can touch just one person to say, oh, look, man, you can get your life back. That's all I was trying to do today. In closing, thank you so much. Please rate and review, whether it's your app you're using or on Apple. Give us that rating. I'd love to see the reviews. And then again, World Barbershop Adventures on Amazon Prime. Also discover the photography book that I got out there, Police Brotherhood in Uniform Around the World. It's where I took photos of police officers around the world. It's out, self-published it, and it's got a lot of good reviews. It's why I did an interview on Fox News about it. And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully, wherever you are in the world, you're doing great. Hopefully, you got a big trip coming up. I'd love to hear about it and look forward to talking again soon. Thanks.